Dear brothers and sisters, on the second Sunday of Easter, I just want to offer you some thoughts on the readings of this Sunday. Not trying to add something to what the bishop said in Eucharist just now, but to help those who don't understand Dutch to really live through this Sunday, starting from the readings. What the bishop stressed, talking about the gospel of today, was that Thomas is somewhat special in two regards. And in this ways that he is special, he is very close to our way of seeing things and living our lives. First of all, he does not accept what he hears from the others. The 11 have witnessed the risen Christ, but Thomas wants to see him himself. So he's not into the we of the church, but into the I of personal experience, which is very close to what a lot of the people living today are going through. Second is that Thomas is open to resurrection, but he needs to see the wounds of Christ. So that means that the risen one should be the same as the one that is crucified. The risen Christ should not be someone else, someone who has not gone through the passion. It's a very strong idea, very close to what we have been thinking about and praying about in the Holy Week. Now, this story about Thomas that we hear in the Gospel is an evolution of this apostle towards faith. And in this personal experience that he gets 8 days later than the rest, and in this connection with the risen one who is the same as the one who was crucified, he comes to his profession of faith, my Lord and my God. And what we hear at the end of the gospel is that is what we are supposed to reach to. The gospel is written in order for us to become believers. These are recorded so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing this you may have life through his name. So faith is the goal of this all. Now, in the first and the second reading, we get an image of what it is that is characteristic for those who are the faithful. In the first reading, we get an image of the community, a very important text that is out of the Acts of the Apostles. And I would invite you to read it again. It's the second chapter, verses 42 to 47. This is a so-called summarium in Latin, which means a synthesis of what Christian life as a community is all about. And what you will see is that they are doing the things Christian communities are supposed to do. Reading and listening to the teachings. They are praying and having some kind of liturgy. And they are taking care of one another. And these three elements all add up to being a Christian community. It's really very fundamental for what church is. I just want to spend some more time looking at the second reading from the first letter of St. Peter, because it's not that easy to read a text like that. And in our languages, it's even more easy than in the original text, because what we read as a second reading is in fact in Greek one sentence. It's just a cascade of thoughts linked very much to one another, but for us in our modern times, not very easy to really understand. What you need to know about this text is that it is describing the spiritual state of the faithful. And it uses time to describe that spiritual state. Time in the sense that there is a past, a present, and a future. And this text is a thankful prayer that we as Christians can look back on the past, can look forward to the future, and based on that, live the present. Now, what is crucial is that in the past, in our past, there is only one thing that is relevant. And that is the raising from Jesus Christ from the dead. There is only one thing in history that really matters. Christ has risen from the dead. That's the only relevant element in the faithful's past, the letter of St. Peter says. The future is what we can look forward to. And this future is praising and glorifying God. And we will be united around God by His power. We will be saved. We will be living in His love. All these kinds of images are what the future is about for Christian communities. And the present? Well, the present is not that nice. It is a present it's a time of trials, of pain, of suffering. The present of the Christian communities is not that beautiful, Peter describes. But because we have Christ's resurrection from the dead in our past, because we can look forward to being united around the Lord, praising and glorifying Him, it is because we have that in the present, although there is suffering, there is hope. And this hope gives us the strength to go on, not to give up, and even to experience the joy of that. So suffering, hope, joy. This is the mechanism we are living in right now. What our Christian forefathers used to live in 2,000 years ago, and what we're experiencing right now. So this second Sunday of Easter is for us an invitation to really position ourselves in that dynamic. Let me invite you to just listen to the second reading and listen to it from this perspective of past, future, and present. And just repeating that, it is a prayer of thankfulness, from gratefulness. Blessed be God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who in his great mercy has given us a new birth as his sons by raising Jesus Christ from the dead, so that we have a sure hope and the promise of an inheritance that can never be spoiled or soiled and never fade away, because it's being kept for you in the heavens. Through your faith, God's power will guard you until the salvation which had been prepared is revealed at the end of time. This is a cause of great joy for you, even though you may for a short time have to bear being plagued by all sorts of trials, so that when Jesus Christ is revealed, your faith will have been tested and proved like gold. Only it is more precious than gold, which is corruptible even though it bears testings by fire. And then you will have praise and glory and honor. You did not see him, yet you love him. And still without seeing him, you are already filled with a joy so glorious that it cannot be described, because you believe. And you are sure of the end to which your faith looks forward, that is, the salvation of your souls. Have you noticed that Jesus Christ is not only in the past, in what happened in his resurrection, but he's also in the future? He will come again. And that what is described as the present, suffering, hope, joy, that is what Peter calls faith. Faith for those who have not seen Christ in the past, who are not seeing him just yet because he's in the future, but who cling to him, and through this act of believing become people who are characterized by love. You didn't see him, yet you love him. This is a great time to really learn ourselves to become such people, to be taught by others to become true Christians. I really hope and pray that the Spirit will grant you this mercy. And ending this short moment of reflection, let me just point out that it is important that we as Christians find new ways to show something of this faith, of this hope, of this love, and of this joy. And that's why we are really trying to make sure that Pentecost will be a special moment for our church in the Diocese of Antwerp. We don't know what the situation on the coronavirus level will be at the 31st of May, but we do hope that whatever the situation is, that people will see something, will feel something of the joy that is inherent to being a faithful community. And that is why we are trying to make sure that in every house of someone of the Diocese of Antwerp, there is a family Easter candle. It's not possible for us to gather around the real Easter candle in our churches, but the bishop has invited us to make sure we have a family Easter candle. And in Kroongetuigen, the program we've been making for children, we have suggested how you can create such a candle by yourself. Of course, you can buy it through internet and even in supermarkets. We just want to make sure that everyone, also of the English-speaking community, has such a prayer candle, a hope candle, a love candle, the candle of the Spirit, that in order for us to light that on Pentecost, 31st of May, in front of the window so that people outside can see it. Now, just want to tell you once again that the bishop is praying with that candle every night at 5:15, lighting that candle, praying, and inviting everyone to just sit down at the table, light the family candle as well, and pray with the bishop. May I just invite you to make sure you have such a candle at home, that you use it in these days to pray, and perhaps you can make sure that people you know that are alone or are not capable of getting such a candle, that you give them or challenge them to make sure they have. Thank you so much for listening. Hope we can keep connected and that the Lord, the Risen One, may be a part of our days in this very important time. Bye-bye.